Hello, welcome to another episode of Reddit Recreations. This evening we're going to be looking at r/MalicousCompliance. So if you haven't already, grab yourself a cup of tea, have a sit down, chill out, and let's read this post from kid_endmore. And the title is New Neighbour Didn't Like My Old Fence, so I took it down. Let's get into it. About 5 or 6 years ago, I built a fence in my backyard. I talked to my neighbours and we decided on a good place to build the fence. We knew an approximate property line based on some survey pins, but we were both too cheap to pay for a surveyor. We shook hands and I built the fence. It was a great deal for my neighbours. I paid for everything, built the fence, and all they had to do was give me a big thumbs up when it was done. Then, a year later, they sold their house. That meant I got a new neighbour. More specifically, I got Anne. Anne was from the big city. Anne was a realtor. Anne had flipped 8 houses in 12 years. Anne loved this new house and planned on staying for a long time. And Anne had a dog. Razzie was a German Shepherd mix that spent most of the days outside while Anne went to work. Razzie was aggressive towards children, animals, insects, and any plants that waved in the breeze. Razzie also, as Anne once told me, loved to chew on furniture. That's why Razzie stayed outside so much. About 6 months after Anne moved in, I saw a surveyor walking around my neighbourhood, and he was paying special attention to my backyard. The next day, Anne showed up at my front door with a stack of papers and asked me if I was going to pay her for the 9 inches that my fence was encroaching onto her property. I explained the handshake deal with the last neighbours, but she was having no part of it. She wanted the fence moved, or she wanted money. No discussions. She had spoken to her lawyer friend and was perfectly happy to take me to court over the fence. She told me, "I don't know how you guys do it out here in the sticks, but where I come from, we follow the rules." So I got rid of the fence. The next day I unscrewed the horizontal rails from the brackets, stacked the fence panels up against my garage, and pulled the fence posts with my work van. About a week later, Anne shows up at my front door again. She wants to know when I'm going to be building a new fence. What? Turns out, without my portion of the fence, she's not been able to let Razzie out unattended for fear that he will run away, attack something, or get hit by a car. She also told me that she can't keep him in the house all day while she's at work anymore. Her furniture and carpet are all but ruined. Well, well, if it doesn't look like the consequences of my own actions. I told her, "Well, Anne, I'm not going to be rebuilding the fence. I don't want any legal trouble, and the best way to stay out of trouble is to not build near your property." Absolutely spot on. She's done this to herself. The look on her face was priceless. I thought she was going to cry. She probably did when she got back home. She tried to protest, saying that she really needed that fence back, and she would even help pay for the new one. So she's gone from suing you for money to now paying you to undo what you did. Oh, Anne, you big fool. She told me how much she loved the style and aesthetic of the old one, didn't she now? It was just the location that she had a problem with. I stood firm. There would be no new fence. She never got a fence. She made half-hearted attempts to put up some bamboo fencing, but Razzie tore through that stuff like newspaper. Eventually, I sold my place and moved on. I took the old fence panels with me and I still look at them every day when I let my dog out in the morning. Too long didn't read. New neighbour with dog didn't like where the old neighbour and I built a fence. She threatened legal trouble, so I completely removed the fence. Dog destroys her house and I keep the fence. This is why I love the Malicious Compliance subreddit. You can never get angry at someone doing what you told them to do, what you demanded they do. It's normally just people who don't think things through on this subreddit. I mean, if you've got a dog that destroys everything and he has kept him with the fence, you don't think about that at all. I think you just see the dollar signs and then you just like, yeah, I'm going to sue. Big woman from the big city going out in the sticks. Obviously, she thinks she's better than everyone as well. Like, you can see from the quote, what was it she said? "I don't know how you do it out here in the sticks, but where I come from, we follow rules." yeah, she definitely looks at herself as above these people. She definitely thinks she's better than them. So yeah, when you get a bit of payback on those people, that can always feel good as well. One of the top comments from known-associate 8369 says, I had something similar. I bought a house, then a few years later, one of my fence-sharing neighbours knocked down her garage and decided to build a dwelling in its place. Her first approach was to ask us if they could buy a few metres of our land to give that dwelling a decent backyard. We refused, as it would make our back garden an odd shape, and also it would make it hard to subdivide our plot later on. So then she approached us, saying that the fence was a couple of feet into her yard and she would like it moved. We said, sure, let's get a surveyor to fix the property line and we can move the fence into a better position. The fence did have a dog leg in it to go around an old tree long since removed. So if we could bring it back to a straight run, then great. I'm very much hoping a dog leg is some sort of term in construction. Let's just find that out quickly. So that person very casually just dropped the fact that they've got a dog's leg in their garden. So a dog leg is a thing that bends sharply, in particular a sharp bend in a road or route. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We don't have a dog leg. It's a dog leg, not a dog's leg. So the fence did have a dog leg in it to go around an old tree, long since removed, so if we could bring it back into a straight run, then great. The surveyor came out and put their official stakes setting the line, and the entire fence, end to end, was already about 2 to 3 metres into our property. She ended up losing a lot of land for the entire length of the fence, and we actually gained a decent chunk. We now have a huge vegetable garden down that entire length of fence with no loss to our usable back garden because of this entire debacle. Well done, lady. You got so obsessed with the property lines that you lost your space. I've always thought, when you move into a house, when you get a place like that, if it's nice, if everything fits, you've got a fence up there, who cares if it's 1 inch or 2 inches into your property line or the other? Like, why do you care? It's a nice fence, it's a nice garden, just leave it. Or else you could end up having this happen. They're going to get a vegetable pouch exactly where you thought your garden was. Another comment from Real Ultimate Papo says, move your fence or I'll sue you. You got it, ma'am? Oh, I am so stupid. Genius should have used the money she was gonna sue you with and either build a new fence or train her dog to not destroy everything in existence. Now that's also not a surprise. Someone that acts this way has a dog that just destroys everything. Then we've got another top comment from Dreoct saying, lovely, she dug her own hole, ready to put new fence posts in. I used to have a tiny 1-foot fence in separating mine and my neighbour's front yards. The backyard was separated by a 6-foot fence that stopped next to the houses, and my house had a full-size fence on the other 2 sides, plus the front, so my yard was, in theory, fully enclosed. I have a large, friendly dog. Neighbour had a small, not friendly dog who kept coming into my yard over the 1-foot fence to do its business and terrorise my dog. But the neighbour didn't care. I bet they'd be going crazy if your dog was doing it the other way around. Also, I bet if your dog attacked the other person's dog, they'd be trying to get you to put your dog down right away. Don't care that your dog's coming into my territory and pooing all over it. As soon as my dog retaliates, oh boy, you better watch out. In the meantime, we kept our dog inside as much as possible, because if the little dog had started an actual fight, my dog would have easily destroyed it, and my grandmother, who used to come over daily to the garden, would pick up the little dog's poo and throw it in the bin. Oh, Grandma, bless you. Bless you, Grandma. I planned to replace the 1-foot fence with a matching 6-foot fence to continue from the backyard to the fence at the front. Costed it up and planned to pay for it all myself. My neighbour initially refused because she didn't want it to destroy the public's view of her roses. When I framed it as, building the tall fence would allow my dog to use her whole yard, which she can't do now because your dog is always here. Neighbour literally said, oh, but then my dog wouldn't be able to get into your yard. Yes, Lynn, that's the entire point. After many months of her polite and vague, oh, it's on the list responses, I scheduled a fencing contractor and called in a surveyor to check the boundary line. Where I live, legally both neighbours have to contribute 50-50, and because I had the survey report, the council demanded she pay for half. Wow, that's a crazy rule. I mean, obviously it works out great in this particular instance, because, you know, screw this woman. But if you want to build a fence, both neighbours have to pay. What if I don't want a fence? Now that's a bit of a crazy rule. Like, I love to hear it's worked out against the jerk, but I don't think that should be a rule. And I make that assessment off of thinking about it for 1 minute, and I will think about it no longer. Turns out the original fence was over 1 foot onto my property. In the end, we knocked down both the 1 foot and 6 foot fences between the houses. She lost the entire strip of land, which included her roses. Oh, her sweet roses, oh no. And her dog was forced to poop in its own yard. You wonder if she could hire the grandma to come over and pick up. If she'd just agreed at the start, I'd have paid for the whole thing and she'd have been able to keep that 1 foot strip of land and her precious roses. I hope you took very good care of those roses too. And the poster of the story said, the fencing contractor made her dig them up before he started because of the thorns. It said his insurance stated that he wasn't allowed to touch him. Yes, this meant we got to watch her dig them up. My God. If this story wasn't already good enough, that's really rubbing salt in the wound. Oh my God. That must have felt good, watching her have to dig up her own roses. Well, I could get stuck reading these comments all day. Most of the top comments all seem like different stories of people getting revenge over other people over fence issues. It seems like that could be its own subreddit, just fence r/fence problems, or fence revenge. Fence revenge doesn't sound very good. Fence problems sounds good. I'm gonna have a look for that. You know, I was about to end the video here, but there are so many comments which are just different people with different fence problems, and I love this. I could read this for hours. Another top comment from Higher Bank Ranger says, when we were looking for a house, we got accosted by an old lady who was the neighbour of a house we were looking at. They put up this fence and it's too close to my house. If you buy it, I'll make you take it down. Already, old lady trying to really bring down the property price. She wouldn't shut up about the fence and we literally couldn't have cared less. But by her entire nature, I was sure that if we did buy the place, it would be a nightmare neighbour that we'd be feuding with until she had a heart attack. So our realtor pulled the disclosures, and we're the kind of nosy people who know how to use legal searches, and the story we assemble from reading them was this. We're about to get a whole old lady neighbour history. These are great as well. Bad neighbours. I think that's a subreddit. I might do the next video on bad neighbours or bad neighbour related content. So subscribe, like, and put your notification bell on if you want to hear that tomorrow. Because I do upload daily, you know. Old lady was annoyed about a fruit tree in the yard of the house now for sale some years prior. Don't like that it dropped open rotten fruit on her yard. There was a short chain link fence and the tree was right on the edge next to the fence. She hacked off all the limbs on her side of the fence. This killed the tree. The owner of the house sued the old lady to replace the tree. Oh, now that is bad. I mean, anyone who knows anything knows about tree law. Tree law goes crazy. The amount of money people lose over cutting down trees. If you think it takes 50, 100, 200 years to build a tree, to grow a tree. You don't build many trees, but if you grow a tree, it takes hundreds of years, it takes generations to build a tree. So if you chop that down, it's not just something simple. Like, that's a big thing if you chop down someone's tree. Old lady, as part of her defence of the lawsuit, said it was her tree anyway, because the fence was hers and it was on her side of the property line, and since the tree was so close to it, it had to be hers. Owners of the house for sale hired a surveyor to counter her claims. Now, previously their understanding was that they had a zero lot on that side, that the house was literally on the property line. That's because that's what the old lady probably told them when they moved in. They'd never bothered to check. The surveyor informed them that it was actually a zero lot, but on her side. They had 3 feet of land. That's 3 feet of land that she had been using as a garden beside their house. So they won the lawsuit. Old lady paid the state assessed value of the tree, which must have been massive, and then boom, in the permits for the property. Have you used boom as a verb? Well, and then they boom in their permits for the property. They paid for a nice fence that cost almost exactly what they got for the tree. It was placed the minimum distance allowed by law from her house, which was 18 inches. She was ready to fight that fight all over again to get 22 inches of yard back. And the OP replies, never underestimate an old lady with a grudge. And ain't that true? Different stories, all the same outcome. So if you are complaining, if you're listening to this and you complain about people taking your yard, I'd say be quiet. You never know. You never know. Imagine complaining all the time about your annoying neighbours taking up extra space, and turns out you live on their property. If you scroll enough, you'll probably find a comment saying her house was in the property and they had to leave. Well, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching another episode of Reddit Recreations. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I do upload new Reddit videos every single day, and I will see you next time.